The sea is never silent. Its voice rises and falls with the tides. Each wave carries a secret, a story, a song. Long ago, sailors leaned close to listen. They believed the ocean spoke in whispers. Some said it was the wind playing tricks. Others swore it was the breath of gods. And among those gods was Poseidon. He was not only ruler of the deep, he was the keeper of the ocean's voice. His realm stretched farther than any map. His throne was carved from coral and foam, and his crown shimmered with salt and spray. To sailors, he was a guide and a warning. To dreamers, he was mystery itself. They prayed to him before voyages began. They listened for his signs in the surf. The waves, they said, carried his words. Gentle ripples could mean safety ahead. Restless tides warned of storms to come. But always, there was a message hidden. Poseidon spoke not in shouts, but whispers. And those whispers shaped the fate of many. Tonight, we follow those voices across time. We journey into the legend of the whispering waves and discover the timeless presence of Poseidon. The sea stretches farther than the eye can see. Its surface glimmers with light, yet hides endless depth. To ancient minds, it was a living, breathing soul. It moved with moods, shifting from calm to restless. Every ripple seemed alive, whispering a quiet secret. Every wave returned, as though answering an unseen call. Sailors stood at the shore, listening with reverence. They believed the ocean held the wisdom of ages. Its song was never the same, always changing, always alive. Sometimes gentle like a lullaby drifting on the breeze. Other times strong, like drums beating in the distance. The sea was not just water, but a vast kingdom. Beneath its waves, light softened into shadowy blue. Coral forests swayed like gardens woven by gods. Schools of fish moved as one, shimmering like silver clouds. Turtles glided slowly, as though carrying old stories. Whales sang deep songs that echoed through the dark. And dolphins danced, leaping high, laughing with joy. Above it all was the unshakable presence of Poseidon. He was said to walk the sea as easily as land. His trident was not a weapon, but a symbol of balance. He guided the tides, pulling them like threads of time. Every wave bowed, every current followed his command. But Poseidon did not shout his power aloud. Instead, he let the ocean itself tell his story. The waves became his language, gentle yet unending. They whispered to those patient enough to hear. Legends say that children first learn to dream by listening. With seashells pressed to their ears, they heard his voice. It was not fear they felt, but wonder. The ocean's rhythm matched the beating of their hearts. Sailors spoke of nights when the horizon glowed. They swore Poseidon walked across the silver moonlit sea. His steps stirred ripples that shimmered like stars. Those ripples carried blessings, guiding ships to safety. The sea, vast and mysterious, was never empty. It was filled with presence, with breath, with song. For the people of the ancient world, this was truth. The ocean was not just water, but a god's living home. Every storm, every calm tide was part of his design. Every wave was a whisper, carrying Poseidon's voice. He was the guardian of the deep and its secrets, and his realm stretched far beyond what mortals knew. To sail into the open sea was to enter his domain, a place of beauty, of mystery, and of endless story, where the waves never stopped speaking, and where Poseidon forever watched, listening, and guiding. Poseidon was more than a ruler of waves. He was the spirit of the sea, vast and unyielding. His presence was felt in every tide and current. Sailors described him as both fierce and gentle. To farmers, he was the bringer of rains. To fishermen, he was the giver of harvest. His character was shaped by balance, not extremes. He could stir storms, but also calm the waters. He could break ships, yet guide sailors safely home. He was never only wrathful, nor endlessly kind. Instead, he embodied the shifting moods of the ocean. One moment tranquil, another moment restless and wild. But always, he was true to his nature. The sea does not pretend, and neither did he. Legends painted him as tall, strong, eternal. His beard like sea foam, his eyes deep as oceans. When he walked the shore, waves rose to greet him. When he sank into the sea, silence followed. Mortals looked to him with awe and caution. They built temples on cliffs that faced the horizon. They carved statues with tridents raised high. Offerings were placed with prayers for safe journeys. But Poseidon was not swayed by riches. He listened instead to sincerity and respect. The sea answered truth, not hollow words. For those who honored him, he offered gifts. A calm voyage, a plentiful catch, a safe return. For those who forgot him, the sea grew silent. No whispers, no guidance, only emptiness. His character was woven into every story told. Children heard of his laughter hidden in waves. Fishermen spoke of his footsteps on midnight tides. Poets wrote of his gaze, steady and endless. He was not a god distant from the world. He lived within it, inseparable from water itself. Every droplet held a spark of his being. Every storm was his breath released to the sky. Every calm tide was his hand, smoothing the sea. Poseidon taught mortals through patience and listening. He did not need to roar to be known. The waves spoke for him, carrying his will. When they were soft, he offered comfort. When they were strong, he demanded respect. His trident symbolized not conquest, but harmony. 3 points, like the paths of balance. Creation, destruction, and renewal, bound together. It reminded mortals of the sea's eternal cycle. He was a god of depth, not of cruelty. A guardian who guided without always being seen. Epicture, presence that could not be denied or ignored. His character was not written in temples. It was written in the movement of tides, in the laughter of dolphins, in the songs of whales, in the hush of dawn when the ocean rests. Poseidon was power, but also peace. He was strength, but also understanding. He was the ocean's truth, endless and alive. The ocean has a language of its own. It does not speak in words, but in whispers. Every ripple carries meaning for those who listen. Every wave arrives with a story to tell. The ancients believed Poseidon wove messages into water. His voice was hidden in the rolling surf. Some heard comfort in the gentle lap of tides. Others heard warnings in the restless crash of waves. It was said the ocean spoke differently to each heart. To lovers, it murmured promises of return. To wanderers, it called with songs of adventure. To the lonely, it offered company in its rhythm. Each person carried a different whisper in their soul. And Poseidon was the keeper of these voices. The waves were his messengers, tireless and true. Fishermen swore they heard guidance in the foam. A shift in sound told them where fish gathered. Sailors trusted the hush of calm waters. They said it promised safe passage home again. Even children pressed shells to their ears. They believed the sea itself sang inside. Parents smiled, knowing legends lived through such moments. The ocean's whispers shaped lives, dreams, and choices. They were not thunderous, but quiet, steady, enduring. Legends told of islands that rose from whispers, appearing to those who followed their sound. Islands of rest, of food, of fresh water, disappearing again when their gift was complete. Some stories spoke of voices beneath the waves, songs of dolphins guiding ships through fog, choruses of whales echoing warnings of storms. Even the hush of seagrass swaying held meaning. The whispers were everywhere for those patient enough. The sea was never empty of voice or spirit. Poseidon himself was said to understand them all. To him, no wave was too small to matter, no ripple too quiet to carry truth. He knew the language, as one knows breath. It flowed through him, natural and eternal. When storms came, he did not rage blindly. He listened to the voices within the waves. Storms were not chaos, but messages of renewal. The sea cleansed, reshaped, and began anew. And within its roar were lessons for mortals. Listen closely, for nothing is spoken without reason. Even silence, too, carried Poseidon's wisdom. When the ocean rested, whispers turned inward. It was a time to reflect, to dream. The people who lived by the sea understood. They learned to respect the quiet as much as sound. They knew the waves did not lie or deceive. Their truth was as constant as the horizon. The whispers of the sea taught humility. They reminded mortals of their smallness in the vast, but they also offered connection, comfort, and belonging. Every person who listened felt part of something greater. And through every whisper, Poseidon's presence endured, not as a shout, but as an eternal voice. Sailors have always lived between fear and wonder. For them, the sea was both friend and mystery. Its vastness could carry them home or swallow them whole. Yet they trusted it, as one trusts the air to breathe. They believed the waves carried Poseidon's guidance. Before setting sail, they listened closely to the surf. The ocean's voice was their compass and their map. A soft tide meant safe waters ahead for days. A restless roar warned of hidden tempests waiting. They did not see the sea as silent chance. It was alive, awake, and always speaking. Old sailors told tales to the young on shore. Stories of how whispers in the waves saved lives. A sudden shift in rhythm meant change was near. A low hum in the night meant storms would pass. They learned to read the water as one reads letters. Every rise and fall was a message written. Some spoke of nights when stars hid behind clouds. They said the ocean sang louder in darkness, a voice guiding them when the sky gave no light. Others told of journeys where waves shaped a path. Currents moved like invisible hands steering their course. When they trusted, they always found land in time. Those who ignored the whispers often lost their way, drifting endlessly, searching for a shore unseen. So listening became tradition, sacred as prayer. Before voyages, sailors poured water over the deck. They asked Poseidon to bless the path before them, not in fear, but in respect and trust. They knew they were guests in his endless home, and guests must listen to the host's quiet words. The whispers also gave comfort on lonely nights. Sailors spoke of hearing laughter in the waves, like dolphins echoing joy, keeping them awake with hope. Some swore they heard voices of loved ones carried, soft reminders that home was waiting across the sea. Even in the darkest storms, they heard reassurance that no journey was endless, no night eternal. The sea taught them patience, courage, and humility. Each sailor carried these lessons long after return. Children on shore grew up hearing these stories. They learned that listening was stronger than fear, that respect for the sea brought wisdom to all. Thus, the tradition lived through generations untold. The ocean remained their teacher, Poseidon, its voice. Every journey was more than distance traveled. It was a dialogue between mortals and the deep, a conversation written in tides and waves. And for sailors, that dialogue was life itself. The sea spoke, and they answered with trust. In every voyage, they carried its whispers home, and in every whisper, Poseidon watched over them. The sea is not always solemn and still. Sometimes it bursts with laughter and light. Among the waves, dolphins leapt like silver arrows. They danced in arcs that caught the sun. Their joy seemed endless, their movement a song. Sailors believed they were Poseidon's messengers, sent not with warnings, but with gifts of cheer. Where dolphins appeared, hearts lifted and fears faded. Their playful leaps were signs of safe passage. They swam beside ships, guiding them with ease. It was said Poseidon sent them as companions, not warriors, but friends of those adrift at sea. They carried no weapons, only laughter and light. Sailors told tales of dolphins rescuing the lost, pushing stranded men gently toward the shore. Others swore they heard dolphin calls at night, echoes of laughter that chased away loneliness. The ocean could be vast, cold, and silent. But with dolphins, it felt alive with joy. They reminded mortals the sea was not only trial, it was also wonder, play, and harmony. Children on the shore waited for their leap. Each splash became a story told in excitement. To see dolphins was to feel Poseidon's kindness, for his realm was not built only of storms. It was also filled with delight and peace. The dolphins danced as if weaving blessings in water. They carried the light of the sun on their backs and left trails of laughter in their wake. Sailors whispered that dolphins knew the ocean's secrets. They traveled currents unseen, moving like shadows of joy. Their presence was a reminder to listen and smile. For even in the deep, life thrived with play. Some legends said dolphins carried messages of love. Songs between distant shores carried on their voices. Others believed they bore forgotten prayers to Poseidon, whispers that mortals dared not speak aloud. Whatever truth lay behind the tales, joy endured. The sight of dolphins filled even weary eyes with hope. For hope is strongest when wrapped in laughter. And the dolphins never tired of giving both. To mortals, they became symbols of renewal, proof that Poseidon's sea was more than challenge. It was also a source of friendship and delight. The laughter of dolphins echoed across generations. Sailors told their children, who told theirs again, that the ocean, though vast, was never empty. It was filled with voices, joy, and gentle guidance. The dolphins leaping were more than chance. They were reminders that Poseidon's watch was kind, and that even in restless waters, light endured. So sailors prayed not just for calm seas, but also for dolphins to appear on the horizon. For where dolphins swam, safety followed, and where their laughter rang, Poseidon's blessing shone. The sea tells many stories, but none as gentle as the ones born in its hidden gardens. Beneath the waves, where light bends and softens, lay meadows of coral and fields of seagrass. Here, the world seemed untouched by storms, a place of quiet wonder beneath Poseidon's gaze. Fish glimmered like living jewels, darting between corals in a dance of endless color. Sea turtles glided with unhurried grace, as though time itself slowed in their company. Every creature had a rhythm, and together they wove harmony into the water's breath. It was said Poseidon walked here in silence, listening to the language of his gardens. For these were not battlefields nor thrones, but sanctuaries where life spoke in whispers. Corals built cities of stone and light, rising slowly, patient as the passing centuries. Their spires sheltered countless lives, each one small, yet vital to the whole. Tiny shrimp cleaned the shells of giants, while eels coiled like shadows in the reef. Even the humblest creature had a place, a part in Poseidon's endless design. Sailors who glimpsed the gardens through clear water swore they saw a different world, a kingdom not of crowns or armies, but of balance, beauty, and eternal song. They told tales of how waves carried faint music, echoes from beneath the sea. Some claimed these songs came from the corals themselves, humming with secret life. Others believed they were Poseidon's whispers, words of comfort carried on the tide. No matter the truth, the gardens remained a place of wonder, unseen yet felt. The sea, after all, was not only force, it was also nurture, patient and kind. Here mortals remembered that life blooms even in places unseen by the sun. For every coral branch was a testament to quiet strength and hidden beauty. Every fish darting in silver light was proof of joy without words. It was said Poseidon protected these gardens most fiercely, though no weapon was drawn. His protection was gentler, currents guided, predators balanced, storms kept at bay. The gardens were living temples, where the sea's spirit was most alive. Those who honored the ocean in their hearts dreamed of these hidden realms. They awoke with peace, as though touched by the breath of the deep. For the gardens were more than beauty. They were lessons for those who listened. Patience, balance, and the quiet power of growth spoke louder than any storm. Even mortals understood. Strength is not only in force, but also in gentleness. The ocean's gardens taught that every life, no matter how small, was sacred. Together, they created harmony, a song that never ceased beneath the waves. And so, while storms raged above and ships braved restless tides, the gardens endured. Silent, steady, and eternal, they whispered Poseidon's softer truth, that the sea is not only endless, it is also endlessly giving. Its heart beats not with fury alone, but with love for all it holds. And in the gardens beneath, this love took root and bloomed forever. The ocean holds stories of storms, yet within them lies Poseidon's quiet lesson of renewal. Above the surface, winds gather and clouds swell, painting the horizon with shadows of gray. Sailors tremble at the sight, but the sea knows storms are not only wrath, they are rebirth. Lightning splits the heavens, and rain falls heavy, washing away the dust of the world. Beneath the waves, creatures retreat into safe havens, waiting for the chaos to pass. Corals hold firm, swaying but never breaking, teaching resilience through their patient stillness. Poseidon, they say, does not summon storms to destroy, but to awaken what lies dormant. The sea breathes deeper after the fury fades, cleansed, renewed, and brimming with hidden strength. Sailors tell tales of how the water glows brighter, fresher, after the rage has passed. Fish return in greater numbers, and seabirds circle the surface in triumphant cries. Even the sands shift to reveal treasures buried long before the storm began. To mortals, storms may seem cruel, but to the sea they are part of its song. Each wave crashing is a drumbeat, each gust of wind a note in Poseidon's symphony. And though the music is wild, its end is always silence, calm, and soft light. The sun breaks through, casting gold upon the rippling water like blessings from above. Sailors learn that no storm is endless, no darkness eternal, no trial without meaning. For Poseidon whispers through the storm, "Endure, and you will rise stronger than before." Villages by the shore understood this rhythm, building not only for calm, but for change. They knew storms would come, yet they trusted the sea's gift of renewal afterward. Children laughed as they watched rain dance upon the waves, unafraid of the thunder. They saw beauty in the storm's fierce song, and hope in its fading echoes. Legends tell of sailors who prayed during storms, not for escape, but for understanding. They sought not to silence the waves, but to learn the meaning in their roar. And those who listened returned with wisdom, their hearts as steady as anchored ships. For storms reveal truth, fragility, strength, and the balance that binds both together. Poseidon's gift was not in sparing mortals from storms, but in guiding them through. He taught that fear can be softened when seen as part of a greater whole. The ocean after a storm glows like a temple reborn, alive with light and promise. Every drop of water carries memory of the rage, yet also the calm that followed. This cycle, sailors believed, mirrored life itself: trial, endurance, renewal, and grace. To walk beside the sea was to accept its storms as teachers, not punishers. Each gust of wind, each crashing wave, was a reminder of life's unending rhythm. The storms came, yes, but so too did the sun, the laughter, and the calm. And in that balance lay Poseidon's truest whisper. That renewal follows every storm. There are places where sea and sky meet so gently that they seem woven from the same thread. These are the horizons where mortals often dream, but to Poseidon, they are sacred bridges. Legends tell of passages where the veil between worlds thins and whispers ride upon the waves. Sailors spoke of hearing voices in the distance, calling not with fear, but with longing. The whispers were soft as foam, carrying secrets older than the stones of Olympus. They told of journeys, of endings and beginnings, woven into the tide's eternal rhythm. Some believed the whispers were the sea itself, speaking in Poseidon's boundless language. Others swore they were voices of ancestors, carried across waters to comfort the living. When sailors leaned close, they said they heard words that felt like both memory and dream. A call to endure, a reminder that they were never truly alone upon the waves. The horizon glowed brighter where the whispers were strongest, guiding lost ships like beacons. Stars above mirrored the waves below, and the sea seemed endless, alive with meaning. It was said Poseidon used these whispers not to command, but to console and inspire. Unlike thunder, they did not shake the heart. They soothed, steady as a friend's hand. The whispers carried promises that storms would fade and light would always return. Mortals who followed the sound often found safe passage or hidden shores. They trusted the unseen voices more than their maps. For maps could be broken by storms, but whispers never lied, and they never led to despair. Some legends told of great heroes guided by these voices to their destiny, not by force, but by quiet certainty, as though the sea itself desired their triumph. In the stillness of night, when only the moon walked upon the waves, whispers deepened. They became a lullaby to the weary, rocking ships as though cradled by unseen hands. Even those far from home felt comfort, as if loved ones called across the distance. The sea, vast and endless, seemed suddenly intimate, like a hearth fire, like a song. Children on the shore pressed shells to their ears, swearing they heard whispers too. They said seashells held fragments of Poseidon's voice, captured in spirals of stone. Every murmur from within carried stories of journeys across forgotten tides. And though no mortal could decipher all, the feeling was always the same: connection. For the whispers reminded all who listened that the sea was not a barrier. It was a bridge, a thread, binding mortals, gods, and time itself together. And so the name was given: the whispering waves, the eternal voice of Poseidon's sea. They spoke softly, yet their meaning endured louder than thunder, lasting through generations. For to hear them was to know the ocean did not only move around you, it moved with you, carrying your story, adding it to its endless song. And in that song, no soul was ever lost, no journey ever forgotten. The whispers endured, patient as tides, eternal as Poseidon's watchful gaze. There are times when the sea reflects the sky so perfectly that the world feels doubled. Sailors called these moments mirrors of Poseidon, where water and heavens were one endless canvas. In these reflections, mortals saw more than clouds and stars. They saw their own hidden truths. The ocean did not distort but revealed, showing what lay within the soul of those who gazed. Some spoke of seeing long-lost faces ripple in the glassy water, smiling as if alive again. Others saw the paths they feared to walk, illuminated faintly like trails across the waves. It was said Poseidon allowed such visions not to frighten, but to remind and to guide. For just as waves reflect light, they also reflect memory, hope, and the heart's quiet wishes. When the sea was calm, it became a teacher. Its lessons carried in silence, not thunder. Mortals learned that reflection was not stillness alone, but a dialogue between past and present. The sky above might change, but the water below carried its likeness faithfully, endlessly. And so mortals realized that even their lives, brief as sparks, were reflected in eternity. Children stood by the shore at dawn, watching their small figures shimmer in the tide. They laughed at the sight, chasing their reflections, not knowing they mirrored something deeper. Their innocence became part of the sea's song, woven into Poseidon's endless memory. Sailors who traveled long journeys often looked into the waves for comfort. In the mirrors of the sea, they found courage to face unknown horizons. Some said Poseidon gifted these visions so no one would ever feel lost. For in every reflection lay proof that each life mattered, no matter how small. The stars above, countless and eternal, danced in the waves below as if closer than ever. Mortals felt they could reach out and touch the heavens through the ocean's mirror. And in doing so, they realized the bond between sea, sky, and soul was unbroken. Legends grew from these mirrors, of heroes who saw their destiny glowing upon the tide. They followed the visions not with fear, but with trust, as though guided by the sea itself. The ocean, vast and unending, whispered truth in reflections more clearly than in storms. Poseidon's gift was not always in grandeur, but in stillness where clarity bloomed. To gaze into the sea was to gaze into oneself, and through oneself, into eternity. Even those who carried sorrow found healing when their tears fell into the mirrored waves. For the ocean did not reject them. It embraced, reflecting pain and transforming it into light. Thus, mortals learned the sea was not only force or mystery, but also memory. Every reflection was a promise that nothing was ever truly lost, only transformed. The waves would carry each story, each face, each dream into the vastness forever. And in the shimmering mirrors of Poseidon's realm, mortals saw their place in eternity. There are whispers that the sea itself is a memory, older than any star, deeper than any silence. Mortals who listened long enough swore they heard the voice of time carried within each gentle wave. The ocean did not forget, for every drop carried the breath of ages, the echo of lives long past. Poseidon's realm was vast, yet it was not empty. It was alive with stories, woven into the tides. Seashells on the shore were not mere fragments, but letters written by the waves in secret script. When children pressed them to their ears, they heard not just sound, but messages from the ocean's soul. Some heard songs of joy, laughter carried across centuries, like the echo of a distant celebration. Others heard sorrow, not to wound, but to remind them that grief too was part of the sea. Poseidon was not cruel with these gifts, for he knew memory was both burden and blessing alike. mortals came to understand that every whisper was a thread, binding them to eternity's grand tapestry. The sea was never silent, even in stillness, for silence itself was a kind of sacred music. Each wave that rose and fell was a heartbeat, steady, reminding mortals of the rhythm of existence. And yet, not all whispers came in the form of comfort or gentle song. Some carried questions, soft but insistent, asking mortals if they were ready to face their truth. When storms rose, the whispers became thunder, not to punish, but to awaken what lay hidden. For in the chaos of the waves, mortals discovered their own strength and resilience. The whispers of the sea reminded them they were never alone, even when horizons seemed endless. Poseidon's presence was felt not in form but in essence, like salt in the air or pulse in the tide. He was not a god of distance, but of closeness, bound to every ripple that touched mortal shores. And so, whispers spread, of a god who listened, of waves that remembered, of seas that never forgot. Fishermen carried tales home, saying the ocean spoke of journeys yet to come. Travelers returned with eyes alight, whispering of visions seen upon the mirrored waves. Every story became part of the next, carried onward like driftwood, never lost, only transformed. The sea was a keeper, a guardian of memory, and Poseidon its eternal voice. Mortals learned that to listen was to honor the bond between earth, sky, and sea. Whispers in the waves told them they were not fleeting shadows, but sparks woven into eternity. Even the smallest ripple carried meaning, touching shores far beyond what eyes could see. Children grew, sailors aged, empires rose and fell, yet still the whispers remained. For the ocean was older than kings, older than myths, older than time itself. And Poseidon, in his silent watch, ensured that every voice, every dream, found its place in the waves. Thus the whispers of the sea became eternal, a song without end, echoing forever across the horizon. The story of Poseidon and the whispering waves does not end, for the sea has no ending. Every tide that rises carries echoes of all that came before, flowing into what is yet to be. Mortals return to the shore, listening for the voice that speaks through salt, wind, and foam. They hear not commands, but invitations, gentle calls to remember they belong to something vast. The ocean is a mirror, a teacher, and a companion, never turning away those who seek it. Children grow into sailors, sailors into elders, and still they pass the same stories along. Around fires and in harbors, they whisper of a god whose presence is felt but not seen. Poseidon is not a shadow hiding in storms, but a rhythm stitched into every breath of the tide. He does not demand temples of stone, for the sea itself is his cathedral without walls or roof. Each wave is an altar, each ripple a hymn, and each drop a prayer carried into eternity. Mortals begin to understand that reverence need not be fear, but awe, a quiet respect for balance. The ocean is strong, but also tender, holding both storm and silence with equal grace. Those who listen hear more than waves. They hear their own hearts answering back. It is in that dialogue that Poseidon's true gift is revealed, not in thunder, but in connection. The sea reminds mortals that they are both small and infinite, fragile and enduring. Like grains of sand, their lives seem fleeting, yet together they shape the shores of time. Poseidon's whispers assure them that no voice, no dream, no memory is ever truly lost. The ocean gathers them all, weaving them into its endless story. When mortals feel alone, they return to the waves, and the waves remind them they are not. The sea knows every face, every tear, every laugh, carrying them in its depths forever. And though centuries may pass, though kingdoms rise and fall, Poseidon's voice endures. It is in the crash of surf, in the stillness of dawn, in the silver path of moonlight. His presence is not bound to a moment, but to all moments, flowing endlessly with time. Legends become memory, memory becomes myth, and myth becomes the breath of the ocean itself. The story continues not because it is told, but because it is lived with each tide. Every whisper is a reminder that mortals and gods are bound by the same eternal sea. The waves never tire of carrying their song across the horizon, patient and everlasting. And so the tale closes, not with an end, but with a return to the beginning. The sea waits, as it always has, ready to listen, ready to speak, ready to embrace. Poseidon's voice drifts in the wind, soft yet unyielding, eternal as the waves themselves. And if you stand by the shore tonight, you may hear it. Gentle, steady, whispering just for you.